What is up, fellow gamers? Today I'm here to review Last of Us Part 2. For those of you who don't know, which you don't because I've never really said it on this channel, I am an incredible, huge fucking fan of the first Last of Us game. The first Last of Us game, to me, is almost a borderline masterpiece. The characters are so incredibly fleshed out. The voice acting is spectacular, from Troy Baker to Ashley Johnson. It's all incredible. The first game is fucking beautiful. It's one of my favorite games of all time, and I honestly think one of the best games of all time. Now, coming up for the second video game, Last of Us Part 2, I was excited. I was very excited. I wanted to, because I trusted Naughty Dog, and I wanted to see what they would do with these characters. I've never liked people's argument of saying I didn't want there to be a second one because the first one was so good. I've never understood that belief, because even if the second one is terrible and you hate it, you still have the first one to go back on, so even if you don't like the second one, it's not going to ruin the first one's experience for you, so at the end, nothing really changes, so I've never understood that argument. This is going to be a spoiler-free section of the video. I'm just going to do it from spoiler-free to spoiler, just so I can even it out pretty well, and I will be showing gameplay footage, not of my own, because I didn't record it, but I will be showing other YouTubers, like, who played it, and I'll be sure to give them credit in the bottom left corner, so you can go check out their gameplay footage. The story for Last of Us Part 2 is that Ellie loses someone who's close to her. I'm not going to say who, I'll say that in a later part of the video. She ends up going on a revenge path to get the people who took the ones that they loved from her. So it's a classic revenge story. Now I'm going to get what I like out of the way, because I do have a good amount of problems with this game. What I like, the visuals. The visuals is absolutely astonishing. This is some of the best graphics I've ever seen in a video game ever. Like, this is incredible. Naughty Dog have always been, like, top tier when it comes to graphics, but they've outdone themselves in this. Like, this looks incredible. Like, this looks like PlayStation 5 graphics from what I've seen. Like, this looks outstanding. What I also like is the combat and the movement. The movement in this game is extremely fun. I've seen other reviewers say that it's very repetitive and it's not different from the first game, and to an extent I understand that. You're gonna fall in love with the controls in this game if you fell in love with the first one, but the controls in here are way more refined. I found way less bug glitches, and I appreciate the amount of maneuverability that it gives you. Like, for instance, you're able to prone now, which of those of you who don't know, it's when you get on your knees and crawl down like an army soldier. That's incredible. I love that function. That got me out of some pretty hairy situations very quick. And it's great because when you're hiding in the grass, you don't just crouch down, because if you're crouching in the grass, they will see you more likely, but if you get them prone, they won't see you. And that's incredibly helpful. Good thing the enemies have, like, no peripheral vision, so that's a banger. Another great thing about this game is the voice acting. Troy Baker as Joel and Ashley Johnson as Ellie fucking nail it out of the park. They're incredible as usual. They showed that in the first game. They have great acting chops, not just in terms of voice acting, but in mocap. They both are the ideal versions of the characters. When the HBO series comes out, they're gonna need to do a lot of work, because Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson are top tier for Joel and Ellie, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone on that. Another thing that's fun is the combat. The combat, to me, is way more fun than the last one. The last one, I love the combat in the last one because it's very gritty. I would love to see Naughty Dog make a Punisher game because of, like, the blood and gore. The blood in this game is this game holds nothing back. This is brutal as fuck, and I love it. This is like the blood splatter. You blow someone up, their legs come off. It's awesome. But the combat in this game is way more fun, especially with Ellie. One thing I love in this game is that you don't have to craft shivs anymore, at least not as Ellie. You do play as other characters, I'll save that later. When you play as Ellie in this game, she has her classic switchblade, so you don't have to waste, like, getting someone in a chokehold like you do with Joel. It's just a simple stab in the neck and toss him on the ground, and then you feel like John Wick in this game. Ellie is the Baba Yaga in this fucking universe, man. Nothing gets in her fucking way. Playing as Ellie, you feel like an absolute beast, and that is another thing that this game does great. Another thing that the game does incredibly well is tension. I can't tell you how many times I was biting my nails or, like, super fucking tense, because I would turn off all the lights in my room with my headphones on the fucking TV back there, and it's just all dark, and then I'm in this dark room, and they're just fucking terrifying. Like, this game is absolutely scary. It has its absolutely scary moments, and it does that incredibly. So I'm gonna give my quick review on this game now before I go into spoilers, so that way if you want to know what I think, I'll just end it now, and then after that I'll give my spoiler review. Overall, good game. Not a perfect game, but a good game. But overall, yeah, I had a lot of fun with this game. Okay, spoiler warning. This is spoiler territory now. If you have not played Last of Us Part 2, either leave or stay if you like spoilers. I don't know why you would do that, though. So, spoiler talk in 3, 2, 1, let's get to it. So, in the beginning of the game, Joel died. He gets beaten the shit out of with a golf club. And that, for me, was hard to watch at first, because I love Joel. Joel's one of the best characters, and I'm going to talk about why that kind of bothers me a little bit in the beginning. So the game starts off with a great moment of Joel explaining to Tommy of why, or what he did, and why he did it. And I really love seeing Joel and Ellie and Tommy interact in the town Jackson that they live in. I'm really happy to see that. I love seeing the world that it created. That's another reason why I don't understand why people... I understand it to an extent, but I think if they were just all like, oh, don't make another game. I think that'd be a really stupid move on Naughty Dog's part, because the first game had so much more story to tell, and I think that would have just been a waste of potential and a slap in the fan's face. It's not like Batman Arkham Knight, where it kind of ends off cleanly and it's a good, satisfying conclusion. It would have been different. So, and then later in the game, you play as Ellie and you play as Joel, but then later you be introduced to a character named Abby. And Abby, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna go back and forth. This isn't gonna be like a shot-for-shot spoiler thing. I'm gonna get my problems out of the way, because I do have a lot to say about this game. The timeline in this game is a fucking mess. Now, let me be clear when I say that this game does have great moments. It does have absolutely phenomenal moments, and the flashbacks in this game are done really well sometimes. That being said, what this game does that bothers me is that at one point, and every reviewer has said this about the game, but I'm going to say it too, so fuck off. At one point in the game, you're really playing as Ellie, and I'm having fun as Ellie, because you come up to this climax, and then you just start playing as Abby, and then all of that tension goes down, and immediately for the next 12 hours of the game, you play as Abby. And Abby has her own fun little sections to play as, but there's no denying that when I bought the game, I bought it to play as Ellie. Now, I'm okay with the fact that it kind of threw me off a little. I'm okay with the fact that the promotional material showed not exactly what the game was, and I'm glad about that. I'm glad it kept me on my toes. But the problem with playing as Abby is that you play her so early on without knowing anything about her, and then she commits this atrocity by killing Joel right in front of Ellie. Not just killing him, torturing him. She even says,
"You don't get to rush this."
So she takes her time with Joel. So immediately from the game, you hate Abby, and then when I'm playing as Abby, later on, like 12 hours after I'm done playing as Ellie, I'm like, why am I playing as Abby? I hate this bitch. Like, why am I playing as her? I don't want to play as her. And then they later reveal, like, oh, maybe, look at the perspective of Abby. Look at all the people you killed as Ellie that are really Abby's friends. Neil Druckmann's all like, do you feel bad yet? Do you feel bad yet? But the problem with that is the timeline's so messed up that these feel like out of order. This doesn't feel like how the game should have been. If they had shown the flashbacks with Ellie and Abby going back to back, that way it shows the parallels between her and Abby, and then leads up to Joel's death, I would have been perfectly okay with it. But the problem is that it leaves me with a sour taste in my mouth for Abby. They immediately start off with her killing a character that's beloved by the fans, and I just think that's a really dumb move. I can't really wrap my brain around why they would do that. Like, because Naughty Dog's always been great at storytelling, but the problem with this storytelling in here is that you have these sections of the game that feel like it's a flashback within a flashback, and then you're back as Ellie, then you're back as Abby, then you're back as young Abby, then you're back as young Ellie. Just give me someone to play as. Stop making me go back and forth and shit. And Abby does have her fun section of the game, but the problem is, though, is that, again, you don't really get to know more about Abby until after she's already killed Joel. So immediately I'm already like pushing a back from Abby because I don't want to know she killed Joel. I kind of hate this person. And later in the game, you do kind of realize, like, oh, I do understand her perspective and all that. If they had shown why she is the way she is before she had killed Joel, I think that would have just been better. It would have like dreaded up to the fact that she's gonna kill Joel. And the worst part is, as the player, you would understand like, wow, she's gonna kill Joel. And the worst part is that I kind of understand where she's coming from. But you don't get that at first because you don't know jack shit about her when she first shows up. Another thing I want to talk about is the leaks. I didn't look into the leaks because I wanted to be completely surprised when I played this game for the first time. I thought it was really stupid that people immediately are like, this game fucking sucks when they haven't even played the game yet. There was like, I think there was a rumor that that Abby was transgender, and for the whole game I thought they were gonna like acknowledge it, because I'm all like, oh, she's a buff chick, and her dad was the doctor who Joel killed. I'll get back to that in a sec. Maybe they did surgery. But no, she's never revealed as that. So again, that's fucking stupid that people immediately assume. So it threw me off guard. There is one transgender character in this game. His name is Lev, and he's actually a pretty cool character. His transgender thing is done really well. I have no problems with that. And by the way, another thing, just because I don't like this game doesn't mean I hate women or doesn't mean I'm homophobic. It doesn't mean that at all. I have no problem with these characters being trans, whatever. As long as it's a good story with good storytelling, I have nothing to complain about. I don't have a problem with Joel dying. Well, I do, but not because the writing part, the writer in my brain thinks, oh, that makes sense that Joel would die so that Ellie could kind of have her way to go on her own and have kind of a conscious thing with Joel in the back of her head. But the human part of me who loves Joel so much didn't want to see him die, and it was really shitty to see him die like that. Not shitty in the sense of how it was executed poorly, I would say. If he had gotten beaten with a golf club after they had shown who Abby was and why she's doing what she's doing, I would maybe somewhat understand. But immediately, though, is that Joel saves her from the get-go, and then she just blows his kneecaps off and starts beating him to death with the fucking golf club. And then for whatever reason, Ellie... Okay, I've got a quick comment after this. For whatever reason, Ellie comes into the room and she points a gun at Abby, but for whatever reason, she feels the need to get closer, as if, you know, a bullet needs, like, a push when you pull the trigger. She could have done it from there. Again, I don't know why. There is a complaint about Joel that, like, the Joel that we know would never fall for this trap. Like, this is very clear. Something's very off with these group of people that he just so quickly said, oh yeah, I'll hang out with you until the storm ends. But my excuse to that is Joel's been living the good life for like the past 4 years. He's very calm. He hasn't really had to really be on guard, especially with people. He's been on guard with infected, but not people for so long that he's kind of like not necessarily lost his edge, but he's gotten comfortable where he is to where he doesn't really need to worry about that. So I buy the fact that he was so quickly taken out that easily because, again, one thing this game does well is that it makes you feel like you're awesome but not invincible. Because if you get surrounded by guys, you need to fucking run. You're not Batman in this bitch. You can't counter 3 people at once. You need to fucking bolt or kill someone. Now, another thing I want to talk about is that I talked about how Ellie came in through the door. One thing that bothers me in this game an incredible amount is that this game constantly, like many times when you're playing as Ellie or Abby, for whatever reason, due to the fact that they both have a lot of experience living in this world, they never think to check the environment that they're going into when they're like sliding into a room. So when the door's jammed and they have to like slide into it, they never think to like look left and right to make sure the coast is clear. It's never clear. And obviously you're like, okay, sneak up on me once, shame on you. Sneak up on me the next 5 fucking times without me checking if the coast is clear. Shame on Naughty Dog. Fuck you. Why would you do that? In this game, you slide into multiple areas that you never look at, and you're all like, why wouldn't you check if the coast is clear? You're Abby and Ellie. You guys are clearly capable of kicking copious amounts of ass. You guys enter your Matt Murdock mode and sense people from like 30 feet away. You guys don't think to check if the coast is clear, and it feels like very lazy, oh, we need to get them into this next scene. One thing I do like, I forgot to mention in the spoiler-free review, but who fucking cares? This game's been out for a while. I feel like if you're watching this, you've already played the game. I do like the new weapon selection. You do have silencers, and I fucking love the dodge mechanic. That has always been a feature I don't like in the last game because it's incredibly difficult to run away from someone because you have to quickly run, but you're stuck in the animation of turning. Whereas you can just tap L1, the dodge button, to dodge out of the way, and that's incredibly useful, and I like the fighting mechanic in that game. And I like the fact that there's a designated jump button that's incredibly useful too. It makes me, I like how spry you feel as Ellie and Abby, because Joel was very much a brute. He's no Matt Murdock. He wasn't like doing sick flips and shit. He was very much on the ground, and I love Joel, and he's great for that. But it is nice to play as someone who's more spry and able to get around quicker. That I do like. And the running in this game is incredible. When you're hauling ass, you really feel like, wow, I'm hauling ass. And like, it's so cool because it feels like a one-shot fight scene. So you'll go from killing someone, then hiding, then stabbing them, they catch you, run back into hiding, shoot a bow and arrow, you have failed this city, all that good shit. The worst part for me is killing the dogs in this game. I hated killing the dogs because Naughty Dog has always been great with sound design. So hearing the dogs whimper after you shoot them with an arrow, because here's the thing. When I found out that you could kill dogs in this game, I said to myself, I'm not going to kill any dogs because I love dogs. I have dogs myself. But the problem is, though, is that Naughty Dog makes it to where you can't get out of this situation without killing the dog because the dog can track your scent. By the way, that's a great feature to add. I hate the fact that I have to kill the dog, but I love the fact that it puts me in a situation to where I feel bad about the things that I am killing. And the worst part is, too, is that if you don't kill the dog at first, if you kill their owner, the dog will whimper because you killed their owner and they're confused and don't know what to do, and it's heartbreaking. So that part of the element was good. I like the fact that it forced me into, like, uncomfortable situations like that, especially with the sound design, with the hitting. When you stab the dog or you hit the dog or you just hear it whimper, it's fucking terrible. I hate it, but I love it at the same time. But I mostly hate it because I don't like hurting dogs. But one thing that this game really hammers down is perspective. Now listen, I'm all about perspective in games. I'm okay with the game showing me different perspectives to where the world isn't as black and white as it is, that no one's really a bad guy in this world, except for the Seraphites, aka the Scars. Fuck those guys. But the problem with the perspective in this game is that they never really put a hammer on the head. Like, it feels like the perspective is to show us, and I understand that, but at no point does Ellie or Abby try to consider the perspective. For example, so it's later revealed in the game that Ellie finds out that, well, she doesn't find out. She has a gut feeling that Joel lied to her about what happened in the hospital. So she says, if you don't tell me the truth, I'm going to leave. Fuck off. So finally Joel tells her, the only way to get the cure from you was to kill you. There was no other way. But through the rest of the game, Ellie has this resentment towards Joel. And later in the game, she says to Joel when they're reconciling, she's all like, my life could have fucking mattered.
My life would have fucking mattered.
And one part that really bothers me is that no point does she ever think, even in the beginning or the end of the game, to look at it through Joel's perspective. The whole game, the entire game is all about perspective and knowing that there's not a bad guy, but at no point does Ellie try to consider why Joel did what he did. She says, my life could have fucking mattered. I think that would have been a great moment for Joel to say, your life still does matter. That's why I saved you, because you have more to contribute alive than you do as dead. There was no promise that they could even get a cure out of you. Then it would have been a waste, and I would have lost someone I love, love, and then there'd be a waste of time. Not to mention that the Fireflies aren't exactly the best moral judge of character, so knowing them, they would probably use that to hold that above people's heads. They're like, oh, do you want to join our cause? Oh, you don't want to? Well, I guess you don't get the cure then. Like, again, that's one thing that this world is full of shitty people. She doesn't ever bother to see, and she knows that Joel lost his daughter. She never thinks to consider, wow, Joel loves me this much to where he risked humanity. He couldn't stand losing another daughter. He wants me alive more than he wants me dead. But at no point does Ellie really think that. And I just find that odd because this is a game all about perspective, but at no point does she ever try to see Joel's perspective. Joel in this game is incredible. I loved seeing him interact. That's one problem I did have with the game at first, is that I wanted to see more wholesome interactions with Ellie and Joel, because I felt like, I'm like, oh, we kind of got that in the first game, but I want to see them like full on like connected father and daughter style. And they show that when they go to the dinosaur museum and the astronomy place, and they have this beautiful moment. It's one of my favorite parts of the game. It's so well done. But again, that's what bothers me, is that this whole game is all about perspective, but at no point does Ellie try to consider why Joel did what he did. She just thinks like, oh wow, you lied to me for so long, how could you do this? And there's never like a moment of realization in that either. She never like at the end of the game maybe realizes like, wow, he didn't want to see me die. He didn't want to lose anyone else. He literally sings in the beginning of the game,
if I ever to lose you, I'd surely lose myself.
It's very clear that Joel loves Ellie. She's so quick to just put Joel aside as if he's the asshole in this story. And I think that could have worked in a sense of maybe she was angry at him at first, and she's mad at Abby because she killed Joel before they got a chance to reconcile. I'm okay with that. A classic Tony Stark story, like in Civil War, where Tony's mad at Bucky because he killed his parents, never giving him the opportunity to reconcile with his father, Howard Stark. That could have been well done. But they never do that. It's just, I gotta kill these guys. Revenge is bad. Because since this game is all about perspectives, from Ellie's perspective is, Abby and her friends killed Joel, they're all gonna die. Abby's perspective is, Joel killed my father, he deserves to die. They give us, the player, the perspective, but I think it would have been more heartwarming and more influential if they had shown, especially Ellie, because she's so hell-bent on revenge, which again, isn't anything new. And the game really tries to push it to like make you feel bad, and at some elements it does, but the problem is though, is that you have all of these characters who we didn't know at first do something really shitty, like hold down Joel and beat him to death with a golf club, and then you make me feel for these characters. It's not that simple though. If you had done it to where you built up to where I knew these characters beforehand and they were explaining why they hated Joel, and then I would have this feeling of dread like, oh no, Joel is gonna die. And the worst part is that I understand why these characters are going to do it. Not because he fucked all of humanity, but because he killed her father for just trying to save humanity. I would understand that. But they do that so late in the game that at some point I'm all like, Joel didn't torture Abby's dad. Abby tortured Joel. And yeah, if my mom was a fucking doctor and someone shot her in the head after trying to save the human race, I would be a bit peeved. I would understand that. But again, I have that from the perspective that I know why I'm doing that. Again though, if they had shown me who the wolves were, and then I'd played as Ellie, I would feel bad about killing them. So at some point, Ellie does find Abby hung up like a fucking Christmas decoration, and then she takes her down and they go to the boat, and then Ellie threatens to kill Lev if Abby doesn't choose to fight her right now. And here's the problem with this fight scene, is that this fight scene was a fun fight scene for me. I thought it was really cool seeing the fog in the background with the fire in the background, and then you're fighting her in the water. It's a very grungy, dirty fight. It's awesome. But then it ends so off, though, because this entire game has built up to the fact that Ellie needs to kill Abby so that she can feel complete, because she wanted to reconcile with Joel, and it's because of Abby that she can't do that anymore. But the problem with that, though, is it would have made more sense to kill her, but for whatever reason, when she's strangling Abby, she has this quick flashback of Joel, and then she stops and lets Abby go. But that scene doesn't make any sense, because why did she just stop choking Abby? Was it because Joel would have been disappointed in her? Because that's bullshit. Joel's no saint. He's more than welcome killing someone. If the roles were reversed, Joel would have killed Abby without a second thought. He wouldn't care about the perspective. So that's out the window. Is it because, and it's not because she sees Lev and Abby the same way she saw her and Joel. Like, she doesn't really see that connection, because at no point when she's drowning Abby, she doesn't look at Lev and say, wow, I'd basically be the monster to Lev the same way Abby was to me. She just is crying about it, though, and then she just stops. So then at that point, you have all of this work and nothing to show for it. It just feels odd that you would go through all the effort of killing all of her friends, killing God knows how many people you got in her way, only to not kill the person who is the one that wronged you in the first place. That's one thing I've always disliked about certain comic book mediums, is that certain characters like, certain characters who kill is that they kill all of the henchmen, but for whatever reason, they don't kill the boss. I just always thought that was dumb, and it's dumb in this game too. That was very stupid. And then she just lets her go, and then finally in the very end, when Ellie's fucking missing her 2 fucking fingers, she comes back and the house is completely gone. Dina left her. And again, I'm all like, can I get one happy ending in this? If I had gotten to kill Abby and then the house was empty, I would have been fine because Ellie made her choice between getting her revenge and getting her family, and she chose to get revenge. But you don't kill Abby and you don't get Dina, so it's like you have nothing to show for all the work you've done. And then it ends very ambiguous, like, does she go back to Jackson? Where does Ellie go now? I just think it's dumb that, especially because in the first game, Ellie's biggest fear, she says this when talking to Sam, is my biggest fear is ending up alone. I'm scared of being alone. And in the end, that happens. And I just think that's a dumb thing for happening to character. And I'm okay with tragic endings in video games. But in this point, you're just like, I didn't get to kill Abby. Dina left me. They never mentioned Jesse's death. Tommy isn't talking to Maria anymore. And he's like, all like fucked up now because he got like shot in the head, so he's walking funny. And now I am playing as Ellie, a character who I love and respect with all of my heart and soul. Ellie ends up utterly alone, with no one to love and no one to care for. She doesn't have Joel, she doesn't have Dina, she doesn't have JJ, she doesn't have Jesse, she doesn't have Tommy, she's just utterly alone. I just thought that was dumb. The ending was very lackluster. What's funny about this though is that, despite all of the game's flaws, I still had a blast playing it. I didn't really have any complaints while I was playing it. It's when I reflected back on it that I realized, oh wow, that was kind of fucking stupid. But no, yeah, like overall, I still had a lot of fun with this game. And it's just because it's a Last of Us Part 2 game that it's so disappointing. If this was like its own separate game called like, if Last of Us had never come out for whatever reason, and it was called Ellie's Revenge, The Tale of Two Perspectives, or whatever bullshit you want to call it, then I'm like, wow, this is a really interesting game. I'd like to see more. But the thing is though, is it's just such an obvious step down from its predecessor, The Last of Us, which has so much character development and so much love and care, and then you just have Ellie being mad at Joel for the whole time, that dynamic being one of the main things that makes the first one so great, and she's not even willing to see Joel's perspective of it, she's not willing to see any perspective of it, no one's willing to just open their eyes, and that's disappointing. Overall though, I had a really fun time with this game. Despite its flaws, I will be replaying this game. That being said, I'm not really going to remember it for its story, unfortunately. I'll have some moments. Again, the beginning part in Seattle with Ellie was awesome, then it just takes a dip down halfway through. I had high hopes for this game. Again, I had fun with it. I think it's a good game. That being said, in terms of a Last of Us game, it's definitely not perfect. I don't think it's terrible, because it does have some genuinely good moments. That being said, I am disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. And I still love Neil Druckmann's work. I loved his work on Uncharted 4 and the first Last of Us, and I'm just so curious. He said this would divide fans, and I just don't get what he was thinking here. Overall, though, I had fun. Good game, great voice acting, great graphics, very mismatched story arcs, very misplaced areas, like in terms of what should have come first, and very questionable decisions on the characters that we know and love. I still had a lot of fun with this game, but it's definitely a step down from its predecessor. Overall though, good game. But anyway guys, thank you guys for watching, and I'll be sure to do more game reviews on this channel for the games I play. I'll review Avengers Assemble when that comes out. I'll definitely review Miles Morales Spider-Man. I'm hyped as fuck for that shit. But, yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. Check out my other stupid videos. But, anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and, endure and survive. Peace.